Okay, so let's add comments, which seems pretty simple. Um, so let's just do this so we can add, so we can then move on to the next line and say we have comments. There's a single comment which has post ID, ID name, email, body. Let's just grab what we have. Oops. Let's just grab what we have here. So this format you don't have to follow. You can write your own specific structure of how the schema is going to behave, and all that is totally up to you how you want it to be. Let's say, for example, you want to bring in some sort of configuration object thing right there. So we have our config. So this will be a keyword for configurations, and you get your URL in there. And so with that, we're going to read each line right here. So we're going to read the config. See, let's add another keyword called config. So we have config, and it's going to come in here. So it's going to go into get formatted. So if the keyword starts with config, we want to mix something a little bit different than what we are already doing over here. Because we are reading line by line and not like con paragraph or something like that, we want to say that if we have a config, let's say by default is false. So if you are reading the configuration, we want to set this one to true. Part. So reading config will be set to true, and then we're going to skip this. So once we skip and skip everything else, so the next one we want to come in is read this your part over there. So if you're at the end of it, if the first word, that means we are coming in here. We are at the end, so we're going to say that templates or is ending obviously. So if reading config, so if we are actually reading the configuration, then we are going to set the configuration to false, and that will be it and move on. We don't add this to the generated code because this configuration is solely kind of a memory thing. Okay. So once we are actually reading the configuration. That means we have to come into the else part that we are reading the body of the configuration itself. So the first part, we stated that we are reading some configuration. So if the config is there, we set reading config to true right here. So we set reading config to true and then skip it and do nothing else. Then we come to read the body, which we are going to handle that within here, right here. And then we're going to, this curly brackets will end reading the configuration right here and then move on. If we are reading a configuration, so if reading config, this is true, then we need to have a function, something that's going to handle reading these configurations. And it's going to be pretty similar to what we already have here. And soybean is splitting by spaces already. We already know that it is split by spaces. So you're going to have URL, the equal sign or the operator, and the value itself. So let's say in this case, it's going to be, we have the key, the operator, which we are not going to use, and the value of that particular config key or of that particular config. What we're going to do, so if this key is, so if key, and over here where we have our route, which is in this this in this case just going to be just post, we are going to bring in the base URL right here. So if we do check our generated output, we can see, oh, we made a slight bit of error. Good. So now we have our posts, our full routes. So you can pass in the configuration over there, or you can add some base configurations and stuff and handle that over there. That's pretty nice. So the next thing that we're going to do is we adding in the comments. We generated the endpoint for that, and we have our type for comments, and we have use comments, the type for post, and we have use post. So if we do check our generated file, we have all our hooks created for us.